Hi everyone, it's me again, and Squish Gang is present. And today, we're going to talk about how the red pillars are losing grip on themselves and their audiences. Inserting clapping noise in editing, yay! But first, links, sources, ways to support the channel, along with an email to support content, Amazon wishlist, Patreon, YouTube memberships, the whole nine, all down below, along with my social medias and any other affiliate links and doodads. I have an affiliate link with Every Jewels, which has a sale right now. I think they're always on sale, really, but my code works on top of the sale, so that's pretty iconic. As a measly woman who be shopping and do makeup so that I can trick men into loving me, and what else do they say that I do? Not contribute to society in a worthwhile fashion, because all I do is educate kids and adults on a regular basis, which apparently is not worthwhile because I'm not an engineer or I don't code. Okay, even though I provide free education, free entertainment via this slay platform, but because I'm a woman, right, doesn't matter. Anyway, what else do women not do? I have an Instagram account. So I'm cheating on my boyfriend. What's the other thing? Don't remember. Anyway, I'm just gonna sit here and talk to my 90% female audience about... So we're gonna do 3 parts of the video, but we're gonna make it quick today. Part 1, we're just gonna provide some context on the red pill and how it kind of how it peaked and where everything's kind of gone. Then we're gonna talk about Sneako and those kids when he was at a convention. And then we're gonna talk about Andrew Tate sounding like your old babbling grandfather that's, 3 brandies too deep at Thanksgiving. So that's what we're going to get into the video. So let's get right into the news. So part 1, the context of the red pill. Red pill phenomenon and this sort of concept of being outside of the societal bounds and norms is something that has been existent pretty much since the internet has existed in that form via references to the Matrix. The blue pill is that you're happy and blissful ignorance, and the red pill means you know what you're doing. And they've kind of introduced this sort of concept of black pill, where it's you don't even believe any construct that exists. The red pill is seeing the constructs for what they are almost, and then the black pill is you don't even believe that they're there. This sort of ideology is conspiratorial in nature and is something that has sort of always existed, typically amongst the more privileged members of certain societies. Not the highest, privilege, but typically you have to have some sort of cushion to sit on to kind of ponder these things. For example, I remember these sort of conspiratorial natures, or some of these beginning things were often produced by texts in Old English by people who were able to actually write and actually knew how to read, which was something that was only given to men in particular, but also those who were of higher economic status. Many of these sort of conspiratorial thought processes have been the same since the dawn of as far as I know from my educational experience and stuff, the English language. There are terms that were used in texts tracing back to the origin of the English language as it is today that would talk about sort of Jewish conspiracies as means of, through allegory or analogy. They would often have goblins and witches as a representation of this sort of evil system of control that lies beneath the surface of society. This is something that has been adapted, and this is why you see this sort of political pipeline happen a lot of the time as well. And this is another PhD that I've wanted to do so bad, and I keep emailing people and they don't answer me. There seems to be this succinct pipeline which I see how it happens and how it constructs, that goes from having living a so-called normal life. You kind of think, well, this is Western culture. I'm reflecting on solely Western culture in this context. But you're living a normal life, you don't get a lot of girls, you're kind of a nobody, whatever. And then a girl, typically, you have a really bad situation or something bad happened to you involving a woman. Whether that be a really bad date, a really bad relationship, she was very mean, or you screwed up big time, don't want to rectify that or admit to it, and then the woman wants nothing to do with you, right? or women never wanted to do anything with you. That's like your inceldom and stuff like that. Then it goes, okay, I realize there's an evil nature with women. That's that sort of red pill. You figured out the system. But then what do we talk about when there's like the men and other people or whatever, like when others who support these women and they only think in gender binary, like there are two genders, they literally make a whole joke about it. To fit to their own parameters, I'm going to speak into gender form here. Just know that I don't think that way. But just for the context of this, it would be really hard to integrate this sort of keeping the gender spectrum and how they form their analogies. So for now, we're doing two genders, okay? Just trust me on this one. So women, blah, blah, blah. So what do we do about the men who like women? Well, there's something wrong with them. Because through my own measurable perceptions, because to them, that's the only reality that exists, sort of logical pragmatism or that sort of kind of concept, not even pragmatism, logical empiricism, they say, okay, well, those people are part of supporting an evil system. Where does the evil system come from? It comes from things that I want. Status, wealth, notoriety, fame. Who holds that? Wealthy people. Who are wealthy people that I can think of? Celebrities. And movie producers and music executives and bank owners and stock market managers. What am I going to try to pull? What pattern am I going to recognize that's pre-existed, that has been pointed out before? Typically, anti-Semitism. And I'm laughing because it sounds so crazy, but then if you hear what I said with all the steps, there is a clear, distinctive pattern that goes in. The reason why it always ends up into like anti-Semitism or something along that line is because that's a pattern to rely on, and that's something that's existed for a long time that is sort of sitting there waiting for them to fall upon it. So then you get these extremists, and that's why the platform Kick is becoming popular and Rumble and things like that, because that is for where they end up going. And then what they can do, because they just started as silly little guys that hate women, I'm saying this sarcastically, obviously, but the hating women was pretty much the depths of their sort of angle, and for some reason, aggressive, violent misogyny is considered more acceptable on internet scale than other forms of hate, and I am not saying any of them should be acceptable, but when somebody is on camera talking about how they have a trafficking, allegedly, hypothetically in Minecraft, website for girls to cam them, and that's monetized and fine, but then there's, they talk about anything else in relation to maybe like BlackRock or to this sort of upper echelon, things like that. It's like instantly tapped out, which again, I think both should not be allowed. Not one is less bad than the other or anything like that. I'm just trying to hedge that a little bit to kind of explain that I think it's quite interesting that like this violent, aggressive misogyny is acceptable in the context of how they get twisted, but they can't twist anything else. But because misogyny is acceptable and they can't twist anything else, despite the fact that their thought process of hating these other groups is the same, all of a sudden it's like, well, then they just don't like free speech. They just don't like me pointing it out. And then they find an out to twist it towards. So I think that's a very interesting phenomenon that has led them to this place. However, the reality is when you stomp on all positions of status, you stomp on the people that you're attracted to, and you stomp on any rejection or any criticism of any kind, you become kind of sucked into this very specific vacuum. And influence is all about expanding your reach as much as possible as opposed to siphoning it. And this is where we start getting to this concept of this sort of downfall. So now if we move on to part 2, we're going to talk about my little bestie, Mr. Sneako. Sneako and I are best friends of life. We know each other. He's even put me on video. He's even boosted my stream. By that, I mean aggressively harassing me on a live stream, but his channel's banned, so it's gone now. I only have a little bit of one of the streams I recorded on my phone. If you want to see that, I made a Sneako's Downward Spiral video. I played that stream at the beginning. I don't want to dig for it again. I don't care that much. But if I just scroll a little bit, it's Sneako being really skinny and pretending like he can lift weights because there's this sort of concept of those very typical male status symbols, muscles, wealth, and very, very typical basis of attractiveness. They as a means of their own control, right? And Sneako has a little video of celebrating his quote-unquote 1 year of being canceled, where it is quite literally just him. Ooh, that is so loud. It is quite literally just him quoting things all the time, him just pulling YouTube videos and coping to an extent in which I cannot fathom, and sort of kind of saying that we had taken his fame away from someone who had a dream.
It's been 1 year since YouTube banned Sneako.
And my second channel, Sneako, and even the fan pages that I didn't own.
I put my life into that website. It was my childhood dream, my passion, my income, my life's work. Gone. 1 whole year, and people don't even know that I was banned.
They watch stolen content, they see me on their For You page, but they don't know that I was silenced for telling the truth.
A lot of Sneako's sort of grasp and his validation as he presents himself, however, is this sort of idea that all women want him but none can have him, despite the fact that there's a very clear concept of loneliness through his projections and his spiraling. And what he's created is essentially an atmosphere of insufferable people, whether that be those in his corner, those in as his friends, and those who are maybe a little bit less like that tend to have a bit of clashing with him very quickly. Interesting area, this sort of extravaganza, if you will, something presentation of himself in a way that people just drive clicks and views, and simply just trying to have this sort of idea that he's greater than something, despite the fact that he's clearly not very smart. He doesn't really bring anything in, and he's just taking very typical Christian fundamentalist doctrine mixed with a little bit of like anti-Semitism, stereotypes that are created through conspiracy, and just shoveling those out while posing them as unique thought, despite the fact that they're arguably kind of some of the most similar stuff that I've ever seen in years. Because like some of those conspiracies, for example, of Jewish people trying to take children and corrupt them, were prominent ideas in 1400 BCE, 1500 BC. So when your ideas are 500 years old foundationally, there's a pretty good chance they're not unique. Anyways, I know he's not watching because he's not smart enough to get to this point. Last time he just kept yelling, "You're slow! You're slow! You can't stream like me!" And then he got banned, so like Ripozo, you know what I mean? Sneako went viral again for getting dunked on because there's a clip of him at a convention, and it was tweeted by somebody called @60404 that just said, "I'm crying, Sneako realizing he's ruined a generation of kids." And this video is a bunch of 12-year-olds going like, it's kids going, "Fuck the women," and how they hate people who are transgender. So what he's done is he's just kind of created this generation of his viewers anyways, of just hateful children. And I think the thing that's very interesting is how they replicate him is just spewing talking points with no critical thought or process around them, and they can't even back up why they believe it, and they're just literally like, "Oh, well, it's what you want. I'm trying to impress you." As if that's not his whole personality in trying to do this sort of right-wing red pill community.
Fuck the woman! Fuck the woman!
What? No, wait.
Sneako.
We love women. We love women. We love women.
But not like transgenders.
Yes, sir. We love everybody. No.
All gays
Yeah,
should
fuck
die.
it. Yeah, merch, preach. What have I done?
Can I get in the video? Fucking talk.
Can I get in the video? Yeah. Talk to him.
Yo, what's up?
Yeah.
And I think this is where his downfall is happening, because mirroring his positionality to himself show people how silly it is. A few months ago, I worked for a few months. I was teaching 7th grade or 12-year-olds. Okay. This was when Sneako had gotten banned. Sneako had been making a fool of himself on Rumble. This was the infamous Penguin Zero Moist Critical, those are not clips, those are mags. Clip, which I'll put in right now.
Now, the reason he keeps saying watch my clips while threatening me here is because during the stream I couldn't watch him live because he just kept shouting slurs. So I said watch my clips to see what I was saying about you. I had to communicate via Twitch clips. And I'm sorry to be that guy, this is like the grammar police of guns, but he's a fucking imbecile, you absolute buffoon. What you have there is not clips. These are mags. They're mags, not clips, you absolute fucking dummy. The same way that this is also a mag. They're all mags. Stop saying clips, you look fucking stupid here. Anyway, sorry for the gun anatomy lesson.
I don't think he realizes that 12-year-olds think he's stupid. 12-year-old boys, his peak audience, his facade is so weak and crumbling that they think he's dumb. Someone brought up Andrew Tate at one point in one of my classes. I said, you know what, we'll critically analyze this, let's go. Said, what do we think of him? What do we think of his counterparts? Bunch of kids just yelled top G. I tried to tell them, can you explain to me what that means? They couldn't, so that's where that stopped. And then when we get to Sneako, I said, what do we think about Sneako? And they're like, that guy fell off, he's dumb. That was the opinion. So when 12-year-old boys can pick up on it, that your facade is crumbling and is weak, I really don't understand how you expect people to take you seriously. That's where Sneako's crumbling is. Let's move on to our little man's Andrew Tate in our final part of the video. So this morning I was scrolling on God's platform, Twitter, that Elon has tried to rename. Andrew Tate is seen on his Rumble stream with his, username Tate Speech, which we love. A play on words with hate speech. This kind of proves this sort of pipeline thing that I was talking about earlier. He's rumbling. Yeah. He's rambling like the guy at the subway station that makes you a little scared. He's rambling like your crazy racist uncle who got really drunk at Christmas. We're building a caricature here, right? And he essentially, if you look at his physicality, well, he's still streaming with no shirt, but he's very closed in. His body language is very weak, and it flips to his aggression against his own supporters that are quite limited. And there's a tweet that I saw it from. It was at Gadget 440-27447, where it says, Andrew Tate is falling apart. Tate seems unwell, possibly because he has reportedly lost $137 million a year of income due to his app being removed. He answers some questions from TRW members in a bizarre, abusive fashion, and then promotes his new website domain erratically. And this is what I was talking about when that sort of spanning of audience that you're trying to go for, you're trying to encapsulate as many people as possible. But when it's hyper siphonated because what you do is you only like a very specific demographic, you only cater a very specific demographic, and then you don't even want to be supported by the big platforms that will allow you to have this access, you lose that grip. I think what's happening is when you become so susceptible to vanity and status and egotistical drive that you no longer have the ability to conceptualize your place in your own life. And when you don't have the support that you think you demand, that you deserve, even though you can't necessarily prove why you do, then all that's happening is you just think that this is where the conspiracy starts to kind of build on itself and tumble. And he's in a position where he just feels like he's losing everything that he's had for essentially no reason. When you close yourself off with blinders, so much so there's not even a line of vision to see, you no longer can conceptualize where you're at. And I think this is something that a lot of people have been waiting for. A lot of people have wanted. And it's weird because he's saying like it's the downfall of a role model for men. And I think a role model of regression is not something that people would like to see. And it's not the role model of men aspect. It's not the role model of men aspect that people care about. I don't care that you're telling them to do a bit of cardio and lift some weights. What I care about is when you're talking about how you're going to beat the shit out of a girl, how you want to traffic people, hypothetically, allegedly in Minecraft, how you want to ruin the lives of anyone who even comments on you negatively, and your harassment campaigns. Those are things that for most are objectively bad, and while you don't want to see that and you want to put yourself on that pedestal, these other people who are commenting on you are still not banned and are still able to access those kind of opening audience streams that you think you deserve. But just because you think you deserve, you talk about this all the time when you talk about women who want to date you or women who want to date high value men. Just because you think you deserve it doesn't mean you do. And if you want to look in a mirror and say some things to yourself and maybe take some of your own lessons, this might be something that you could come to realize at some point. Or you could just keep screaming and rambling until your revenue dries out and you're stuck in Romania where you're potentially on trial for hypothetical, allegedly in Minecraft trafficking. And you could just kind of let yourself fall through the cracks, and we'll all be here to laugh at that demise. That's where I'm going to conclude the video. Links, sources, ways to support the channel, along with an email to suggest content, all down below. I hope you guys liked this video. Sneako and Andrew Tate, Rebozos, as per always. Rumble can rumble these nuts. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye!
Mom said a rapper died in this house, so I'm just gonna see with my Ouija board. If there are any spirits here, make yourself available. What the fuck? I swear I'm not doing that.